Let's get to the news. As usual, we were on hiatus for the biggest story of the year. That's right. Some guy's dong was too big for the pole vault. Oh, also, Joe Biden's no longer running for president, and J.D. Vance isn't allowed at West Elm. President Biden warned in a new interview that people are not taking former President Trump's comments seriously, that there will be a bloodbath if he loses the election, and added, quote, "You can't love your country only when you win, a lesson Australians have learned all too well." At a fundraiser over the weekend, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi compared the 2024 election to the Olympics and said, quote, "We want democracy to win gold that day. Whatever, as long as we don't get stuck with the bronze." It's been a long time since we made a bronze spin joke. According to a recent financial disclosure, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz owns no stocks, bonds, or real estate. Yeah, of course. I mean, look at him. At best, he has a coffee can full of fives on top of the fridge. Former President Trump is reportedly considering hiring his 2016 campaign manager, Kellyanne Conway. Reporters are just waiting for her official denial to confirm it. Actor Tom Cruise performed a stunt yesterday at the closing ceremony of the Summer Olympics in Paris. Pretty cool, but not nearly as dangerous as competing in the Olympics. According to new analysis, more than 100 public bathrooms in New York City are out of order, specifically the D, F, and R trains. And finally, drug-sniffing dogs in Ecuador recently discovered more than 12,000 pounds of cocaine hidden in a banana shipment, though I think at that point, you found some bananas in a cocaine shipment. According to CNN fact-checkers, former President Trump made at least 20 false claims during his interview last night with Elon Musk, starting with, "It's great to be here." Elon Musk interviewed former President Trump live last night on X, and however crazy you think it was crazier. Here's a taste.
I said to Vladimir Putin, I said, "Don't do it. You can't do it, Vladimir. You do it, it's going to be a bad day. You cannot do it." And I told him things that what I do, and he said, "No way." And I said, "Way."
I mean, first of all, that didn't happen. Second, was Putin threatening to invade Ukraine or put an ice cube down your shirt? Don't do it, Vladimir. Also, what's going on with his voice? He sounds like a sugared up kid on Halloween who won't take out his plastic vampire teeth. I know you don't want to be called weird, but you gotta meet us halfway. No way, I said way. He said no way, I said way. Joe Biden's too old, I'm very normal. I talk like a kid, no way, way. During his interview last night with Elon Musk, former President Trump praised Musk and said, quote, "We can talk about tunnels and rockets and electric cars, so many things. And now you're into the AI, and that's going to be another beauty. In fact, I think AI might have written that sentence." White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre announced yesterday that President Biden will speak next week at the Democratic National Convention and will focus on the issues he cares about. So get ready to hear a lot about the new Deadpool. I'm being serious here. This guy's out of pocket. The San Diego Zoo publicly debuted its new pandas last week, which are the first of its species to enter the U.S. in more than 20 years. But you can forgive them for being a little nervous. You remember our alternative to the two major parties, Bear Guy. Dunkin' has begun offering a limited edition spiked pumpkin spice iced latte, which is 6% alcohol by volume. Big deal. I've been making those for years, said teachers. Authorities in the Czech Republic are searching for a kangaroo that escaped from a prison. And if you're wondering what a kangaroo is doing in prison, 10 years for insurance fraud. And finally, Disney has announced it will add 2 lounge areas to Disney World that will serve alcohol, including a Pirates of the Caribbean tavern. It will even feature Johnny Depp as Captain Jack Sparrow, even though Disney didn't ask him. Former President Trump has reportedly decided to return to the social media platform X as a strategic move to fight his sinking poll numbers. All right, but it's not what it used to be, dude. That's like going back to your old high school and finding out it's a Big Lots now. In a new interview, former Republican presidential hopeful Nikki Haley said that former President Trump needs to make a serious shift and, quote, quit whining about Vice President Kamala Harris. And Trump must have listened because now he's whining about Nikki Haley. Former Vice President Mike Pence said in a recent interview that he cannot endorse former President Trump because Trump wanted him to overturn the 2020 election, and he can't endorse Kamala Harris because that's third base and he's married. In a speech yesterday at a union convention, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz said, quote, "Can you simply picture Donald Trump working at a McDonald's making a McFlurry or something? He couldn't run that damn McFlurry machine." But in fairness, no one really can. The Prime Minister of Japan announced today that he will not run for re-election. Damn, she's good. The Bank of England has raised nearly $1 million for several British charities by auctioning off some of the first banknotes to feature King Charles, who's also a British charity. According to the latest numbers, the Paris Summer Olympics was the most streamed Olympics of all time. So bad news if you were hoping no one saw that. A man in Massachusetts is offering a reward for the return of his wallet after it was reportedly taken by a seagull. That might work, or you could try holding a French fry over your head. Because, you know, to get the French fry, they got to drop the wallet. And finally, Coca-Cola and Oreo have announced a new partnership to launch a Coca-Cola Oreo Zero Sugar Soda. So now Pepsi is okay. Former President Trump was scheduled today to hold a news conference at his New Jersey golf club. So first he had a press conference in Mar-a-Lago. Now he's doing one at his golf club. Is he running to be America's first work-from-home president? I'm pretty excited for his first Zoom of the Union. While speaking yesterday in North Carolina, former President Trump criticized Vice President Kamala Harris and said she has the laugh of a crazy person. Well, sure, any vice president's laugh is going to sound crazy after Pence's. This photo was taken while he was watching Jackass and being tickled at the same time. President Biden said yesterday that the country has beat inflation and added, quote, "My policies are working." Hey, that's great news. Don't come back. You did it. Now get out of here, you. Independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. reportedly tried to meet recently with Vice President Kamala Harris, but was unsuccessful. Apparently, what happened was the trellis couldn't support his weight. After his private plane experienced mechanical problems over the weekend, former President Trump's campaign said it unknowingly used a replacement aircraft that was once owned by Jeffrey Epstein. All right, sure. Honest mistake, but did you have to borrow this sweater? North Korea is set to reopen limited international tourism by the end of the year. North Korea, come for the scenery, stay because they said so. A charity in New Zealand said this week that it had unknowingly distributed candies laced with methamphetamine, but on the plus side, they raised a ton of money. Hey! You got any more of those candies? Taco Bell announced yesterday it will begin testing a so-called nostalgic menu. Featuring past items from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, they've had to continuously update their menu because the weed keeps getting stronger. Chalupas aren't working anymore. And finally, budget airline Wizz Air this week launched a so-called all-you-can-fly annual pass because nothing makes you feel safer than an airline that uses the same business model as Golden Corral. That was a monologue. Here we go, everybody.